Jake Miller was not having a good day. He floated in space outside the human ship frontier, trying to fix a broken communication dish. The metal was old and rusty, and every time he thought he had it working, another wire would snap. "Come on, you piece of junk," Jake said into his helmet radio. He was just a repair guy, not a hero. Back on Earth, he fixed air conditioners and washing machines. Now he was floating in the black void between stars, fixing things that could kill everyone if they broke. Captain Lisa Park's voice crackled in his ear. "How's it going out there, Jake?" "Almost done, Captain. Just need 5 more minutes." Jake twisted another wire into place. The communication dish was important. Without it, they could not talk to Earth or call for help if something went wrong. Jake did not know that something was about to go very wrong. A shadow fell across him. At first, he thought it was just another asteroid. Space was full of rocks floating around. But when he looked up, his mouth fell open. A massive ship hung in space above them. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The hull was black and silver, with strange patterns that seemed to glow. It looked like a giant bird of prey ready to strike. "Captain," Jake shouted into his radio, "we have a problem." Alarms started going off inside the frontier. Jake could hear them through his radio. He quickly finished his repair work and rushed back to the airlock. His hands were shaking as he climbed inside the ship. The bridge was chaos when Jake arrived. Captain Park stood in the center, giving orders to her crew. Dr. Alex Chen was at his science station, staring at readings that made no sense. Everyone looked scared. "What do we know?" Captain Park asked. "It's definitely alien," Dr. Chen said. His voice was tight with worry. "The ship is huge, at least 10 times bigger than ours. And Captain, there are life signs. Lots of them." Jake stayed near the back of the bridge. He was just a repair guy. This was way above his pay grade. But he could not leave. He had to know what was happening. Suddenly, the alien ship sent a message. It was not in any human language, but their computer tried to translate it. The words that came out were strange and formal. "Small ship of the 3rd species, prepare for boarding. We come with peaceful intentions to speak with your leader." Captain Park looked around the bridge. "Get me a channel to respond." But something went wrong with the translation. The computer mixed up the words. Instead of sending back a normal diplomatic greeting, it sent something else entirely. Jake had been working on the communication system, and some of his repair work had messed up the translator. The message that went out said, "Great warriors. Our champion Jake Miller accepts your challenge and welcomes you aboard." Jake's blood turned to ice. "Captain, I think there's been a mistake, but it was too late." The alien ship was already moving closer. A bright beam of light shot out and attached to their hull. Jake could feel the frontier shaking as something docked with them. "All hands prepare for boarding," Captain Park announced. "Security teams to docking bay 1. Jake wanted to hide, but Captain Park grabbed his arm. "You're coming with us, Jake. Apparently you're our champion now." They walked through the ship's corridors to the docking bay. Jake's legs felt like rubber. He had never been so scared in his life. Through the thick windows, he could see the alien ship's docking tube connecting to theirs. The airlock hissed open. Jake expected to see little green men or maybe giant bugs. Instead, he saw something that made him step backward in shock. The alien that walked through was female, and she was beautiful in a terrifying way. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow. Her hair was white as snow and hung down to her shoulders. She wore armor that looked like it was made from black metal and gems. But it was her eyes that made Jake's heart race. They were bright yellow like a cat's eyes, and they stared right at him with an intensity that made him feel naked. Behind her came more aliens, all female, all armed with weapons that hummed with energy. They moved like soldiers, but their armor was decorated with symbols that looked royal. The tall alien spoke, and their computer translated her words. "I am Commander Zara Keth of the Zephyrian Empire. I have come seeking a mate." Her yellow eyes locked onto Jake's brown ones. "You human male have accepted my challenge. You will be my chosen one." Jake's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "I think there's been a mistake." But Zara Keth stepped closer. She was so tall that Jake had to look up at her. She reached out with one long finger and touched his chest. Her touch sent a strange tingling feeling through his body. "No mistake," she said. Her voice was deep and musical. "I can smell your essence. You are compatible. You will come with me." Captain Park stepped forward. "Now wait just a minute." Jake is a member of my crew. You can't just take him. Zaraketh turned her yellow eyes to the captain. For a moment, Jake thought she might attack. But instead she smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Your champion accepted my challenge. By the ancient laws of my people, he is now mine. Unless he wishes to fight me for his freedom? Jake looked at the alien woman's muscles and the energy weapons her soldiers carried. Fighting did not seem like a good option. Can we talk about this? Jake asked weakly. Zaraketh's smile became wider. We will have much time to talk, my chosen mate. But first you must come to my ship. My time grows short and the ceremony must begin soon. Jake felt like he was in a nightmare. 1 minute he was fixing a communication dish, and now he was apparently engaged to an alien warrior princess. His simple life as a repair guy was definitely over. Jake found himself in a room that looked like it belonged in a palace. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. The bed was huge and covered with silk sheets that felt softer than anything he had ever touched. But Jake was not thinking about comfort. He was thinking about escape. The door to his room was locked, of course. He had tried it a dozen times. There were no windows, just more glowing crystal walls. He was trapped on an alien ship with a warrior woman who thought he was going to be her husband. A soft chime sounded, and the door slid open. Jake spun around, hoping to see Captain Park or Dr. Chen coming to rescue him. Instead, he saw another alien woman, though this one was smaller than Zaraketh. She had the same blue skin and yellow eyes, but she looked younger and less scary. I am Velnara, she said in careful English. I serve Commander Zaraketh. I am here to help you understand. Understand what? Jake asked. That I've been kidnapped? Velnara tilted her head like a confused puppy. Kidnapped? No, you have been chosen. This is a great honor. It doesn't feel like an honor, Jake said. He sat down on the edge of the big bed. Look, there's been a mistake. I'm nobody special. I fix things for a living. I'm not mate material for some alien princess. Commander, Velnara corrected him. Zaraketh is a military commander, not a princess. Though she is of royal blood. That makes it worse, not better, Jake said. Velnara sat down across from him in a chair that seemed to be made of the same crystal as the walls. Let me explain our ways. Perhaps then you will understand why this is important. Jake listened as Velnara told him about the Zephyrian people. They were a dying race. Their planet was slowly becoming too cold to live on. Worse, their birth rate had dropped to almost nothing. Most Zephyrian women could not have children anymore. But every few years, one of our females enters what you might call a fertile time, Velnara explained. During this time, she can produce offspring. But she must find a compatible mate or the chance is lost forever. And Zaraketh is in this fertile time? Jake asked. Yes, and she is more than just any female. She is the daughter of our High Council leader. If she does not produce an heir, our royal line dies with her. Our people will have no future. Jake felt a headache coming on. But why me? I'm human. We're not even the same species. Velnara smiled for the first time. That is what makes you special. Dr. Alex Chen from your ship has been speaking with our scientists. They believe that humans and Zephyrians are more compatible than anyone thought. Your genetic material could be exactly what our race needs to survive. Before Jake could ask more questions, the door opened again. This time it was Zaraketh herself. She had changed out of her armor and now wore a flowing dress that was the color of starlight. She looked less like a warrior and more like a woman. But she was still intimidating. Leave us, she told Velnara, who bowed and left quickly. Zaraketh walked over to where Jake sat and stood looking down at him. You are unhappy, she said. It was not a question. You could say that, Jake replied. I didn't exactly volunteer for this. No, you did not. Zaraketh sat down in the chair Velnara had used. Up close, Jake could see that she looked tired. There were dark circles under her yellow eyes. But neither did I. What do you mean? Zaraketh was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. I have tried 3 times before to find a suitable mate. Each time the male was found to be incompatible after the bonding ceremony. Each time I was blamed for the failure. That doesn't sound fair, Jake said. Fair? Zaraketh laughed, but there was no humor in it. I am the last hope of my family line. If I fail again, I will be exiled from my homeworld. My people will choose a new leader and I will be forgotten. Jake looked at her more carefully. Behind all that strength and royal bearing, he could see something else. Fear. She was just as scared as he was, maybe more. So when you detected my ship, Jake said slowly. And you smelled my essence? You thought maybe I was the answer? Your scent is unlike anything I have encountered, Zaraketh said. It calls to something deep in my biology. When I saw you, I knew you were different from other males I have met. Different how? Zaraketh stood up and began pacing around the room. Zephyrian males are weak. They are smaller than females, and they exist only to serve us. They have no creativity, no fire in their spirits. But you... She stopped pacing and looked at him. You fixed your ship's communication system with broken parts and simple tools. You came to the bridge when danger threatened. Even though you could have hidden, you show courage and intelligence. I was just doing my job, Jake said. No, Zaraketh said firmly. You were being human, and perhaps that is what my people need. Meanwhile, back on the frontier, Captain Park was having her own problems. Dr. Chen had been studying the information the Zephyrians had shared about their species. The news was not good. Captain, we need to talk, Dr. Chen said as he entered her ready room. Please tell me you've found a way to get Jake back, Captain Park said. Actually, I'm not sure we should try, Dr. Chen said. Captain Park stared at him. Excuse me? Hear me out, Dr. Chen said quickly. I've been reviewing their biological data. The Zephyrians are facing extinction. Their entire species could be gone within a generation. But if Jake goes through with this bonding ceremony, you're suggesting we sacrifice one of our crew members. I'm suggesting that Jake might be the key to saving an entire civilization, Dr. Chen said. And Captain, there's something else. The Zephyrians have technology that's centuries ahead of ours. If we could form an alliance with them... Captain Park held up her hand. Dr. Chen, I understand the bigger picture. But Jake didn't sign up for this. We can't just hand him over like some kind of peace offering. What if he chooses to stay? Dr. Chen asked. Back on the Zephyrian ship, Jake was thinking about the same question. Zaraketh had left him alone to consider his situation. The more he learned about her people, the more complicated everything became. He was not in love with Zaraketh. How could he be? He had known her for less than a day, but he was beginning to understand her. She was not a monster or a kidnapper. She was a woman trying to save her people just like Captain Park would do for humans. The door chimed again. This time it was a different alien, one Jake had not seen before. This one was older, with silver streaks in her white hair. She wore robes instead of armor, and she looked angry. So you are the human, she said. Her voice was cold and harsh. You do not look like much. Thanks, Jake said. You're really good for my self-esteem. The alien woman's eyes narrowed. I am Council Member Thyravel. I have come to see what foolishness Zaraketh has brought upon us this time. Look, lady, I didn't ask for any of this, Jake said, standing up. If you want to be mad at someone, be mad at your own people. Thyravel stepped closer. She was almost as tall as Zaraketh and twice as intimidating. You think you can just walk onto our ship and become one of us? You are a primitive creature from a backward world. Maybe, Jake said, but at least I'm not a bully picking on people who can't fight back. For a moment, Jake thought Thyravel was going to hit him. Instead, she smiled. It was even scarier than her anger. We shall see, human. We shall see if you are truly worthy of our commander, or if you are just another disappointment. After she left, Jake sat back down on the bed. He was starting to realize that Zaraketh was not the only one he had to worry about. Her own people were watching him, waiting for him to fail. The question was, what was he going to do about it? Jake had been on the Zephyrian ship for 3 days now. 3 days of eating strange food, sleeping in a bed that was too big, and trying to understand aliens who wanted him to be something he was not sure he could be. But today was different. Today Zaraketh had asked him to walk with her through the ship. She wanted to show him her world, she said. Jake was not sure why, but he found himself curious about her life. They walked through corridors that looked like they were carved from precious stones. Everything glowed with soft light, and the air smelled like flowers Jake had never smelled before. Other Zephyrians they passed stared at Jake with yellow eyes full of curiosity and suspicion. Tell me about your home, Zaraketh said as they walked. Earth? Jake thought about it. It's a lot different from this. Most of it is covered with water. We have blue skies and green plants. The cities are crowded and noisy, but there are also quiet places where you can be alone. And your family? Jake felt a pang of sadness. My parents died when I was young. I have a sister named Katie who lives in California. She's married and has 2 kids. I send them money when I can. You care for them, Zaraketh observed. Of course I do. They're family. Zaraketh was quiet for a moment. I have no family left except my mother, and she is dying. When she passes, I will be alone. They stopped in front of a huge window that looked out into space. Jake could see his ship, the Frontier, still docked nearby. It looked so small compared to the Zephyrian vessel. Is that why you became a military commander? Jake asked. Because you had no choice? Zaraketh's reflection in the window looked sad. Zephyrian society is very rigid. Females of royal blood must prove themselves in battle before they can lead. I have spent my entire adult life fighting wars, conquering planets, commanding soldiers. I'm good at it, but I sometimes wonder what it would be like to choose my own path. To be just a woman, not a commander or a royal heir. Jake looked at her reflection. What would you choose if you could? I think I would like to explore, she said. To see new worlds not as a conqueror but as a visitor. To learn about other peoples and their ways of life. They continued walking, and Zaraketh showed Jake the ship's gardens. Jake was amazed by the plants that grew there. Some of them moved like animals, reaching toward him with colorful leaves. Others sang soft melodies that sounded almost like music. These are beautiful, Jake said, touching a flower that glowed like a tiny star. They are all that remains of our homeworld's nature, Zaraketh said. When our planet began to die, we saved what we could. I'm sorry, Jake said. It must be hard to lose your home. Zaraketh looked surprised. You understand loss. Everyone does, I think. Maybe that's something humans and Zephyrians have in common. They sat down on a bench next to a fountain that played music instead of water. For the first time since Jake had been taken, the silence between them was comfortable instead of awkward. Jake, Zaraketh said finally, may I ask you something personal? Sure. Why did you become a repair technician? Surely a human male could choose any profession. Jake laughed. I like fixing things. When something is broken, I can usually figure out how to make it work again. It's satisfying. But it is not a prestigious job, is it? No, Jake admitted. People look down on repair guys. They think we're not smart enough to do anything important. But without you, their machines would not work, Zaraketh said. How is that not important? Jake had never thought about it that way. I guess you're right. In my culture, only females can hold important positions. Males are considered too weak and stupid to lead. But you are neither weak nor stupid. Thanks, Jake said. But I'm also not some kind of superhuman. I'm just a regular guy who got lucky with fixing things. Perhaps that is exactly what we need, Zaraketh said. Someone who can fix what is broken. Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm that echoed through the ship. Zaraketh's peaceful expression changed instantly back to that of a military commander. What is that? Jake asked. Battle stations, Zaraketh said, standing up quickly. We are under attack. They ran through the corridors toward the bridge. Jake had to work to keep up with Zaraketh's long legs. Other Zephyrians were running too, all heading for their battle positions. The bridge was a massive room filled with screens and control stations. Zaraketh took her place in the center, and suddenly she was every inch the dangerous warrior Jake had first met. Report, she commanded. 3 Zephyrian warships approaching fast, one of her officers said. They are broadcasting a challenge to your command. On the main screen, Jake could see the ships approaching. They looked even more dangerous than Zaraketh's vessel, with sharp angles and weapon ports that glowed with deadly energy. Who leads them? Zaraketh asked. General Kixmora, the officer replied. Zaraketh's face went pale. Open a channel. The screen changed to show another Zephyrian female. This one was older than Zaraketh, with scars on her face and arms that spoke of many battles. Her yellow eyes were cold and cruel. Zaraketh, the general said with a mocking smile. I see you have disgraced yourself once again. Taking a primitive alien as a mate? The council is not pleased. The council gave me permission to seek a compatible mate by any means necessary, Zaraketh replied calmly. The council did not expect you to choose a creature that cannot even speak our language properly. Kixmora said, You have brought shame to our people for the last time. What do you want, Kixmora? I want what should have been mine years ago. Command of this fleet and the right to lead our people. You have proven yourself unfit to rule. Jake stepped forward. He did not understand everything that was happening, but he knew Zaraketh was in trouble because of him. This is between us, Jake said loudly. Leave her alone. Kixmora's eyes focused on Jake and her expression became even more disgusted. The alien speaks. Tell me, little human, do you truly think you can satisfy a Zephyrian female? Do you think your weak genetics can save our race? I think you're a bully who's jealous because Zaraketh is a better leader than you'll ever be, Jake said. The bridge went completely silent. Even Zaraketh stared at Jake in shock. No one talked to a Zephyrian general that way, especially not a human. Kixmora's face turned dark with anger. You dare insult me, you pathetic creature? I'm just telling the truth, Jake said. If you were half the leader Zaraketh is, you wouldn't need to attack someone who's trying to save your entire species. Enough. Kixmora shouted. I challenge you, Zaraketh. Single combat ship to ship. If you win, you may keep your pet human and your command. If I win, you will surrender yourself for exile and I will dispose of your alien properly. Zaraketh looked at her screens. 3 ships against 1 were not good odds even for her. I accept your challenge, she said. Zaraketh, no, Jake said. There has to be another way. She turned to look at him and for a moment her commander's mask slipped. He could see the fear underneath. There is no other way, she said quietly. This is how our people settle disputes. What if there was? Jake asked. What if I had an idea that could help us win? Zaraketh stared at him. You are not a warrior, Jake. You fix machines. Exactly, Jake said. And right now we need someone who can think like a repair guy, not like a soldier. On the screen, Kixmora was laughing. Do you see? Your human thinks he can save you. How pathetic, but Zaraketh was looking at Jake with new eyes. Maybe, just maybe, being a repair guy was exactly what they needed. Tell me your idea, she said. Jake's plan was crazy, but it was the only chance they had. You want to do what? Zaraketh asked, staring at him like he had lost his mind. Trust me, Jake said. I've been looking at your ship's systems for 3 days. Zephyrian technology is amazing, but it's predictable. Everything follows the same patterns. Kixmora will expect you to fight like a traditional Zephyrian commander. Because I am a traditional Zephyrian commander, Zaraketh said. But I'm not, Jake replied. And right now that's our advantage. On the main screen, Kixmora's ships were moving into attack formation. They were beautiful and deadly, like metal sharks swimming through space. You have 5 minutes to prepare, Kixmora announced. Then we begin. Zaraketh looked around her bridge at her officers. They all looked nervous. 3 against 1 were terrible odds, even with a good ship and a skilled crew. What do you need? Zaraketh asked Jake. A direct connection to your ship's communication system, Jake said. And I need you to contact the frontier. The human ship? Why? Because we're going to need their help. Zaraketh hesitated for only a moment, then nodded to her communications officer. Do it. Within seconds, Captain Park's face appeared on a smaller screen. She looked relieved to see Jake alive. Jake, are you all right? I'm fine, Captain, but we have a problem. There are 3 hostile ships about to attack us, and we need your help. Jake, the frontier is a science vessel. We don't have weapons, Captain Park said. I know, but you have something better. You have Dr. Chen. Dr. Chen appeared next to Captain Park on the screen. What do you need, Jake? Doctor, you've been studying Zephyrian technology. Can you hack into their systems? Dr. Chen's eyes lit up with understanding. Their communication networks use quantum entanglement. If I can find the right frequency... Exactly, Jake said. We need you to cause some confusion at just the right moment. Kixmora's voice echoed across the bridge. Time is up, Zaraketh. Let us see how well your pet human has prepared you for battle. The first attack came fast. Energy beams lanced through space toward them, bright enough to blind anyone looking directly at them. Zaraketh's ship shook as the shields absorbed the impact. Return fire, Zaraketh commanded. No, Jake said quickly. Not yet. Move us closer to the asteroid field. Closer? That's suicide, one of the bridge officers said. Trust him, Zaraketh said firmly. Her ship dove toward a cluster of floating rocks, some as big as mountains. Kixmora's ships followed, firing continuously. The space around them lit up with weapon fire and explosions. Now, Jake said. Dr. Chen, can you hear me? I'm here, Jake. I'm reading their communication frequencies. On my mark, I need you to send a false signal to the lead ship. Make it look like one of the other ships is targeting them instead of us. That's actually brilliant, Dr. Chen said. Give me 30 seconds. Jake watched the tactical display. Kixmora's ships were closing in, trying to surround them. In a few moments, they would be trapped with nowhere to run. Zaraketh, I need you to do something that goes against everything you've been taught as a commander, Jake said. What? I need you to act like you're surrendering. The bridge went completely silent. Even in the middle of battle, this was shocking. Zephyrian commanders never surrendered. If I do that, they will destroy us, Zaraketh said. Not if we time it right. Dr. Chen, are you ready? Ready, Jake. Zaraketh, open a channel to Kixmora. Tell her you want to discuss terms. Zaraketh looked like she was about to be sick, but she did it. Kixmora, I request a temporary ceasefire to discuss terms of surrender. On the screen, Kixmora smiled triumphantly. So quickly? I expected more fight from you, Zaraketh. My ship is damaged, Zaraketh lied. I cannot protect my crew or my mate. Very well. You have 2 minutes to surrender properly. The 3 attacking ships stopped firing and moved closer. Jake watched them on the tactical display, waiting for the perfect moment. Now Dr. Chen. On the frontier, Dr. Chen sent the false signal. To Kixmora's ships, it looked like one of their own vessels was targeting the General's flagship. What? Kixmora shouted as alarms went off on her bridge. Who was locking weapons onto my ship? Confusion spread through the enemy fleet. For a crucial few seconds, they were distracted, trying to figure out who was betraying whom. Now, Zaraketh. Full power to weapons and engines. Zaraketh did not hesitate. Her ship exploded into motion, diving between 2 of the enemy vessels while firing everything it had. The surprise was complete. 1 enemy ship took massive damage before they could even raise their shields. But Jake was not done. Velnara, I need you to broadcast something on all Zephyrian frequencies. What should I broadcast? Velnara asked from her station. Tell them the truth. Tell them that Kixmora is trying to destroy their last hope for survival, because she's jealous of Zaraketh's success. As the battle continued around them, Velnara's message went out to every Zephyrian ship and colony in the sector. She told them about the human-Zephyrian compatibility, about the chance to save their species, and about Kixmora's selfish attempt to destroy it all. The effect was immediate. Other Zephyrian ships began sending messages of support for Zaraketh. Some even broke off from Kixmora's faction and headed toward the battle to help. But Kixmora was not finished. Her remaining ships regrouped and launched a desperate attack. Energy beams filled the space around them, and Zaraketh's ship shook under the impact. Shields at 30%, an officer reported. Hull breach on deck 7, another said. Jake felt helpless. His plan had worked so far, but they were still outnumbered and outgunned. He watched Zaraketh commanding her ship with skill and courage, and he realized something that surprised him. He cared about her. Not because she was his supposed mate. Not because of alien biology or politics, but because she was a good person trying to do the right thing. I have to do something, Jake said. You have done enough, Zaraketh replied, not taking her eyes off the battle display. This is my fight now. But Jake was already moving. He ran to the communication station and grabbed the microphone. Kixmora, he shouted. This is Jake Miller. You want to fight someone? Fight me. The bridge crew stared at him in shock. On the screen, Kixmora's face appeared, twisted with rage. You think I would waste my time dueling a primitive alien? She snarled. I think you're scared, Jake said. I think you know that Zaraketh is twice the leader you are, and you're afraid that everyone else knows it too. How dare you? Prove me wrong, Jake said. Single combat. You and me. If you win, Zaraketh surrenders. If I win, you and your ships leave and never come back. Jake, no, Zaraketh said, grabbing his arm. She will kill you. Maybe, Jake said. But maybe not. And either way, this ends the fighting. Kixmora's laugh was cold and cruel. Very well, little human. I accept your challenge. Prepare to die. But Jake had one more surprise in store. As Kixmora's personal shuttle approached for the duel, Dr. Chen's voice came over the radio. Jake, I've been analyzing their weapon systems. I'm sending you everything I've learned. The information flowed into Jake's mind through his communicator. Zephyrian personal weapons, fighting styles, weaknesses in their armor designs. It was not much, but it was something. As Jake prepared to face the most dangerous warrior in the Zephyrian fleet, he realized that being a repair guy had taught him one important lesson. Every machine had a weakness, and every problem had a solution. He just had to live long enough to find it. The duel took place in the cargo bay of Zaraketh's ship. Both crews watched from behind protective barriers as Jake faced General Kixmora in the center of the large room. Kixmora was everything Jake had expected and worse. She was 8 feet tall, covered in battle scars, and carried weapons that could cut through metal like butter. Her yellow eyes burned with hatred as she looked at the small human who had dared to challenge her. Jake, on the other hand, looked exactly like what he was, a repair technician who was way out of his depth. He wore basic protective armor that Zaraketh had given him, and he carried a simple energy blade that felt awkward in his hands. "Any last words, human?" Kixmora asked, activating her weapon. It hummed with deadly energy. "Yeah," Jake said. "I've been thinking about what Dr. Chen told me about your weapons." "What about them?" "They're really advanced. Probably too advanced for their own good." Kixmora laughed. "You think you can defeat superior technology with primitive tactics? I think I can defeat overconfident people who don't expect a repair guy to know anything about advanced technology." The fight began. Kixmora attacked with the speed and skill of a lifetime warrior. Her blade cut through the air where Jake had been standing a split second before. Jake rolled away, barely avoiding death. He was not trying to win this fight with strength or skill. He was trying to survive long enough to learn about his enemy's weapons and armor. Each time Kixmora attacked, Jake watched carefully. Her energy blade was powerful, but it had a slight delay when she changed directions. Her armor was strong, but the joints were less protected. Most importantly, her weapons were all connected to a central power source on her back. "Stand still and die like a warrior," Kixmora shouted as Jake dodged another attack. "Sorry," Jake said. "I'm more of a live like a repair guy type of person." From the watching crowd, Zaraketh called out, "Jake, her left shoulder armor is loose." Jake glanced over and saw what Zaraketh meant. One of the armor plates was not quite properly attached. It was a tiny flaw, the kind of thing only someone who fixed machines for a living would notice. The next time Kixmora attacked, Jake did not dodge. Instead, he dropped low and used his energy blade not to fight but to do what he did best: fix something that was not working right. He cut the loose connection holding her armor plate in place. The plate fell away, exposing the power cables underneath. "What?" Kixmora looked down in surprise. "Yeah, those cables power your weapons," Jake said, "and they're not protected once the armor comes off." Before Kixmora could react, Jake cut through the exposed cables. Her energy blade flickered and died. Her armor's power systems went offline. Suddenly, the great General Kixmora was just a tall alien woman with no weapons, facing a human who knew exactly where all her equipment's weak points were. "This is impossible," Kixmora said. "No," Jake replied. "This is what happens when you underestimate a repair guy." The fight was over. Kixmora stood powerless, her own crew staring in shock at their defeated general. "According to your own challenge," Zaraketh announced, "you and your ships must leave and never return." Kixmora's face was twisted with rage and humiliation. "This is not over, Zaraketh. The Council will hear of this." "Yes, they will," Zaraketh said calmly. "They will hear how a human male defeated one of our greatest generals using intelligence and creativity, instead of brute force. They will hear how human Zephyrian cooperation saved us all." As Kixmora's ships departed, Jake found himself alone with Zaraketh in her private chambers. The excitement of victory was wearing off, and now they had to face the reality of their situation. "So," Jake said, sitting down heavily, "what happens now?" Zaraketh was quiet for a long time. "Now we must decide what we truly want." "What do you mean?" "My people expect me to complete the bonding ceremony with you, to produce an heir and continue our royal line." "But Jake," she looked at him with those strange yellow eyes, "I do not wish to force you into a life you did not choose." Jake thought about everything that had happened. A week ago, he had been a simple repair technician with a boring life. Now he was sitting on an alien ship, having just defeated a warrior general, talking to a woman who could rule worlds. "Can I ask you something?" Jake said. "Of course. Do you actually want to have children? Not because your people expect it, but because you want to?" Zaraketh looked surprised by the question. I had never considered it as a choice. It was always simply duty. Well, maybe it's time to consider it as a choice." They talked for hours. Jake learned that Zaraketh had dreams beyond ruling and fighting. She wanted to explore, to learn, to see what was possible when different species worked together instead of conquering each other. Jake realized that he had dreams too, dreams he had never admitted to himself. He wanted to do something that mattered, something bigger than fixing broken machines. Finally, Zaraketh spoke the words that would change both their lives. What if we chose a different path? She said. What if instead of following tradition, we created something new? What did you have in mind? An alliance between our peoples. Not through mating bonds or conquest, but through cooperation. Humans have something my people have lost. Creativity, adaptability, the ability to find solutions to impossible problems. And Zephyrians have technology and knowledge that could help humanity reach the stars, Jake added. Exactly. We could be partners, not mates. Explorers, not conquerors. The idea grew as they discussed it. Instead of trying to save the Zephyrian race through breeding, they would save both races through alliance. Human creativity combined with Zephyrian technology could open up possibilities neither species had imagined alone. When they presented the idea to both crews, the response was enthusiastic. Dr. Chen was practically bouncing with excitement at the thought of studying Zephyrian science. Captain Park saw the potential for peaceful exploration of the galaxy. Even the Zephyrian crew, who had been skeptical of the strange human, began to see the value in Jake's different way of thinking. 3 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of a new ship, one built with both human and Zephyrian technology. He wore the uniform of an ambassador, representing Earth in the first interspecies alliance in human history. Zaraketh stood beside him, no longer just a military commander, but an explorer and diplomat. Together, they had opened a door between two worlds. Are you ready, Ambassador Jake? She asked with a smile. Jake looked out at the stars ahead of them, at all the worlds waiting to be discovered. Behind them, the frontier and a fleet of Zephyrian ships followed, crews of both species working together to explore the unknown. You know what? Jake said. I think I am. He was not the same repair technician who had been fixing a communication dish when this all started. But in a way, he was still doing the same job. He was fixing things that were broken. The difference was that now, instead of fixing machines, he was helping to fix the relationship between two species who needed each other to survive and thrive among the stars. And that, Jake thought, was the best repair job he had ever done. Years later, when historians wrote about the great alliance between humans and Zephyrians, they would note that it all began with a translation error and a repair technician who knew that every problem had a solution. They would write about the battles fought and won, the technologies shared, and the new worlds discovered. But Jake always remembered it differently. He remembered it as the day he learned that sometimes the most important thing you can fix is not a machine, but a misunderstanding between people who just needed to learn to trust each other. And sometimes, the best way to save the future is to choose cooperation over tradition, understanding over conquest, and hope over fear. The stars had never looked so bright.